No, even if you try, you will realize where you reach the point. You will realize the point which you wanted to reach, you have reached, and the people can clearly notice
Yeah.
it.
It's
See,
hard for me to debate this.
for instance, I put my painting here and they asked me what is the meaning of this. I said, abstraction is total consciousness. Total consciousness about nothingness. The nothingness itself is consciousness. So, what happened? All the other things which we are living is all subconscious. We are in the dream state and we enjoy that state. So, what I've done in my painting, I swept that all to the side. I've taken out all the subconscious and unconscious things to the side.
Like what? Can you unpack
in my
that?
painting, you can see.
What do you mean? I mean, the camera is rolling, so
Is my belly showing a lot? That's one thing I'm worried about. Is it? A wee bit or?
By the way, before we get started, is it okay if I call you Hari or Hariram?
You can say Hari, no problem.
Hari is okay.
Hari is okay.
Okay. Yeah, food is on the way, by the way.
Yeah.
No, you look great. You look great. You look
No,
great.
Stomach
looks fine. Let me just brighten this up. Let's see.
This makes me more comfortable. Can I sit like that?
Yeah, any way you want to sit, Hari.
Yeah.
I mean, the point is for us to just.
And the lights are okay, or you want?
Lights are great.
You want
it's
some
bright.
of these?
No, this is great.
Yes.
First of all, thank you that you're letting me do this with you.
No.
Right?
I'm too happy. I'm too happy.
I have a curiosity question.
And I'll give you a portfolio of my prints.
Okay.
It'll be excellent. You can have them framed.
Okay.
I don't have them framed, but you can have it.
Okay. Well, thank you.
You can have it framed something like this.
Okay.
And then they are my very good prints of serigraph prints.
Okay.
I'll give you. I haven't given you last time, isn't it?
Well, in 2008, you gave me a bunch. Can I tell you a quick
After
story?
That, I am not.
Can I get something off my chest, Hari?
Yeah, sure.
I'll feel a little better if I did this.
Yeah, sure. You can.
So in 2008, you visited me, right?
Aurora.
In the US, yeah, Peoria.
Picked us up at Chicago.
I picked you up at the airport. We went back to Peoria.
Right.
We went to Hobby Lobby. We bought all these canvases.
Right.
And then we came back home and you very lovingly painted a whole bunch of stuff.
We really enjoyed that.
Yes, you made me like 7 or 8.
Yes.
I am so ashamed of this. We gave all that away.
Oh, okay. Don't bother about it. I'll give you some words. Yeah.
So I'm so ashamed to say. I'll tell you why. There's a reason behind why we did that. It never. Sorry, I'm going to take my socks off. It never. I
went with the ambience or something.
No, it was not so much. I was also not in a frame of mind where I wanted to explore different kinds of art and things like that. And I was, my wife Emily. I don't know if you met her, but she.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
So, I came for the marriage, that time.
Oh yeah, of course you did.
Yes. We had some plans, but we couldn't do it because that time I was not well. I was in Chennai.
Yeah.
And I came and I used to come and go back. And
okay.
I was not really doing good.
Well, we'll get into all of that at some point. So anyway, I had all that stuff in the attic. And Emily kept asking, what should we do? What should we do? And then finally I was like, you know what? We're not hanging it up. We're wasting this art. We should probably give it to somebody that can use it. So we donated it. And then when I was reaching out to you, when I wanted to be, you to be my first guest on the podcast, I was like, shit, how am I going to break this to Hari that I gave away all
That doesn't matter.
He made it with love for us, and he's this internationally acclaimed artist.
That doesn't matter. It's okay. That doesn't matter.
And so
I have some fabulous prints with me. I'll give you.
Okay.
And I'm sure you both of you will like.
Oh
that.
God.
But anything. The only thing is you may have to get it framed.
Okay.
It's easier for you to carry it because it's lightweight.
Sure.
But you can have them framed.
Okay.
And then you can use kind of mounts and broad mounts and have it.
Okay. I have a curiosity question for you. Sure. Right off. Okay. Do you ever? This is such a.
You started it or?
Yeah, it's going. It's going.
It's going on.
We're going. Yeah.
Oh, you're going to edit it?
Yeah, I'll edit in the future.
Okay, fine.
I don't edit too much of my podcast, right? Like I let it roll.
Okay.
How many hours? It's okay. It's
That's fine.
People tell me sometimes like, hey, you got to shorten it down because people have short attention spans, and I'm like, it's not for everybody. I do it mostly because I enjoy doing this thing, and if it's long form, sometimes I'll go back and watch it. I'll enjoy it. I watched hours, and I'll go back and watch like 15 minutes in times, and I enjoy it because it's like a nice conversation. There's exchange of ideas and thoughts and beliefs and stuff, and I'm like, that's the whole point of it, the idea sandbox. Right. In fact, 2-3 days ago, I'm really excited. So I'll go for a quick intro here, or rant here, or soapbox. I put this. Somebody asked me, so what do you mean by the idea sandbox? And I was like, okay, I'll tell you what the idea sandbox is. And then I started to talk about lengthy definition of what is a sandbox, and why did I want to do this and this and that. I thought, man, I don't think people are going to pay attention to that. They want like a quick definition, what is the motivation? And so I was like, it's a marketplace of ideas. I want to facilitate a marketplace of ideas. And if it comes from an artist like yourself, or a hospice chaplain, or I spoke to a military guy who's a post-deliver guy in America. It's great. Like these are all fun ideas, interesting ideas that can be chewed upon in our mind. So anyway, I don't know why I went on a tangent, but I really appreciate you doing this, Hari.
Yeah.
I wish you were feeling a little better. Our food should be here soon.
Yeah.
Oh, another curiosity question. At what point did you decide you don't want to live the traditional kind of family life? You just wanted to live your own life here alone in Bangalore, that too? I'm sure people ask you at all, I don't know, public events, social events, socializing, hey, where's your wife or kids? Or maybe, do you ever feel like, I don't know, what's the question I'm trying to ask? How did you come to terms with that? Like, because people in social situations seem to ask you questions about your personal life. And you can tell that they're making judgments or whatever. They're looking at you, and they're either not paying attention to you or paying attention to you. I think we spoke last time too, and you said you notice people, and some people are living a conscious life, an examined life, and then some people are just kind of like unconsciously flowing through life. Like, how do you reconcile all of that? Like, you seem very comfortable in your skin, you seem very comfortable in your house here, which is wonderful, and you're just prolific. All of these artworks, I'm assuming, are yours. Like, you do this all the time, and you've done this over decades, 5+ decades, right? Do you have any like insights into this kind of a lifestyle? I feel like is within reach for a lot of Indian people, right? Like, we should do this. Like, I have buddies of mine who, and sad to say this, my buddies here, whoever's watching, like a lot of buddies, like they got married for the sake of it. And they tell me in private, like, dude, I just did it to check the box. And I'm like, I wish they followed Hari a little bit. Yeah.
No, I'll tell you something. I normally, at this stage of life, I keep watching about some of these gurus,
Yeah.
the spiritual gurus, for instance. I am fascinated by some of them and what they say. It's very insightful, particularly at this stage of life when you feel that all along what you have done is that doesn't make much meaning if you are not focused into the dimension where you might be going once you leave eternally. I mean, once you leave this earth or something.
Are you saying, like, even you're in your 70s,
Yeah,
are you
yeah,
saying as people approach that phase of their life, they start contemplating their life, their
yeah.
past?
Not many of them do that.
Okay.
Particularly in the West, they may not be doing much because here, what happens in the East, whatever you do, you find these gurus and you come across them and then they throw a certain insight in your way
Okay.
of living and all that.
Yeah.
So these people, whenever someone asks me, have you been in love? Why didn't you marry?
Yeah.
Have you never been in love? Did
Yeah.
anyone love you at all?
Yeah.
I say plenty of them did love me,
Okay.
but I had finally, it's I knew that it wouldn't happen. At some point of time, it was not happening because I was not seriously into it. That's the thing. I was not very seriously into it, and I didn't take marriage as a very important aspect of life. Maybe I felt the absence of a woman in my house or something like that
Okay.
at one point of the time. But eventually, what happens at the end of the life, you feel that you have you have lost something in life if you haven't married. But having not married, also you don't lose anything. In fact, your focus is if you have focused on something very important in life,
Uh-huh.
then probably your realization of your presence on this earth, why you have been here, gets revealed much more. I think that happens more in India because of these encounters with such gurus and all that,
Mm.
who tell you that marriage is just a transaction. They tell you it is a transaction between two people. And if it doesn't work well, it doesn't work. If it works well.
It doesn't need to be a transaction, though. It
It,
could be a friendship.
but yeah, it doesn't need to be a transaction, but it's like it becomes like that, because eventually what happens, each individual has their own path to
Yeah.
go take, and then each individual is an individual.
Yeah.
And we try to fit others into our kind of thought and action, which sometimes we go wrong on that.
Uh-huh.
And then there's always some kind of friction happening and
Yeah.
things like
But you
that.
could work through all of that,
you
right?
can you can work through
Okay.
all of that, but sometimes it doesn't happen in some cases.
It doesn't.
And I think it's something yeah, at an inborn quality in some, that they don't fit in, and therefore they fall out, and then there's sort
Yeah.
of it's a kind of dislocation, but eventually I think it's not a big failure in life.
It's not.
I think, when considering the way I took my art and as a part of my life, and then a spiritual journey and a way of evolving,
Hmm.
and parallelly, when you are looking into the spiritual aspects of life and who you are and what
Yeah.
you are, it's more of
I think the food's here.
yes. What
One
happens
second.
is there is actually it's kind of three segments. One is the conventional way people they do their graduation, get married, and then settle themselves. Then they have the kids and family life, and it goes on like that. They manage a huge family and all that. The otherwise, some of them fall apart, and then it ends very tragically. I mean, love is fine, but sometimes it becomes it's a kind of what you call as a sweet emotion. But if the things go wrong, which are not, that's where the consciousness comes.
Yeah.
It goes wrong, then it becomes disastrous.
Yes.
But for some of the people, people, it worked well because they were into something, some kind of invention, discovery. Like scientists, you take not only artists but other aspects. I think they've done very well, and they've shown something, given something to the society, which as part of entertainment, as part of life, or as part of their spiritual journey, or as part of their own journey,
Uh-huh.
soul going forward into an evolutionary state. So individuals also have contributed a
For
lot,
sure. Yeah.
and I think that way I am very happy, because it's individually what happens is I am happy because I have taken my art to an extent where I have touched the highest stage of success, and it has given me eventually a good standing in the society, whatever it is, and I have that satisfaction. In my personal life, I am happy now to serve others, and I can exchange my ideas, and then I can, the younger generation, if I have taken something from the previous generation,
Yeah.
it's time I give the future generation that, otherwise I would be wasting my lifetime. That's how I look at it.
How do you define your success? Did you ever define what exactly success is in your
No,
life?
success is something, others eventually see that. It's more than what we see. Success is something when you discover something or you give it something to the society, they recognize that. So it all depends on how best you do that, how well focused you were. For instance, like some of the spiritual leaders talk about success. Like, you take Sachin Tendulkar, they say, he just focused on the ball. That's it throughout his life,
Hmm.
and that was his success. People could recognize that. So he was, what is that he was doing the entire life?
Yeah.
He was just focusing his entire thing on a ball,
Right.
and he played his game, and he was totally successful, because he's like a, like a, person who goes about the sea waves. What do
Yeah.
you what do you say that, the uh, the skiing,
Okay.
is it so, the skiing or something, they go about the waves and all
You
that,
mean jet ski?
Huh?
You mean like a jet ski?
Yeah,
Okay.
something. So, some of them can even ride a tsunami, so it
Right.
all depends. Somebody else could get crashed and die there.
Right.
So it's about how the individual has focused in his life about anything, about his personal self, about his profession, about his very well-being, about how he has lived, and what is the purpose of his existence. The very self, uh, where he is going to, and what he is going to be. What's the purpose? So it's a meaningful life sometimes when you are alone and you discover something very
Yeah. No, I never meant, by the way, I never meant
yeah,
to ask, I never meant my question to be that,
yeah,
does a person need to be married? I don't, like, of course, there are a lot of single people who are
yeah,
extremely
yeah,
successful
yeah,
and things like that. It was more in the spirit of,
yeah. There could be failures also, but
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. All of us
So
experience
in
that.
terms of what you said, how did you assess? It's in the sense, I know when I am doing my work,
Uh-huh.
I am going to succeed, and
Yeah.
then when I get the people to see something,
Yeah.
and they admire, and when
Yeah.
they see my work or listen to me or something,
Yeah.
their reaction towards what I am doing itself shows that I have.
What if they don't admire it? What if they don't give you the reaction that you were expecting? What happens then? How do
No,
you feel
that
about it?
that happens to some of them who have not, they I mean, shown that kind of dedication towards whatever they do.
Okay.
I'm not, in my case, I'm
Okay.
referring to.
Are you saying that almost everything that you produce, people admire
It
instantaneously?
does happen. It does
Really?
happen. For instance, what
Okay,
happened?
that's success,
It
right?
does. Yes, it does happen. For instance, once I came to Bangalore,
Yeah.
I just wanted to see how people react to my work.
Okay.
And in the public, they were saying that, they were asking each other a question. They said, what do you think about Hariram's abstract painting?
Hmm.
So these people were, just each of them were thinking what was it. Said, let me ask this question in a different way. A person said, this was right in my presence. They were saying.
Okay.
So they are my friends, and they were talking. There was a huge gathering after I had finished one of the talks on abstract painting on a stage,
Hmm.
and I gave a demonstration, and I had an interactive session where I welcomed people to ask me any kind of questions. The artists were there, and I could answer from anything from A to Z. I could answer
Hmm.
related to what I am doing, as well about the abstract art.
Hmm.
And then after the meets, one of the friend was asking the others, what do you think about Hariram's? Then they were all just little baffled, and they were not able to express themselves. But
Hmm.
this guy said, uh, he put it the other way. He said, if you feel there is a authentic abstract painter, who would that be?
Hmm.
Then eventually some of them even passed certain gestures. They said, They raised their eyebrows and looked at me and said, "This guy." So this is very indicative of that. And even the press people, the critics,
Yeah.
the art historians, they know that your work is
What do they mean
extraordinary.
by authentic? Why would they say you're authentic? Why would they consider you authentic, and are generally abstract painters not known to be authentic, or is that not as quite as common?
No, what happens is in abstract painting, see, when I was young, I used to, at the age of 24, I wanted to be an abstract painter. But the thing is, I was not born to know what is abstract painting, so I just took it as a journey to understand what is abstraction. So, in the event of my journey, I came across this book on which was written by Michael Super,
Yeah, yeah.
and I told you in my earlier dialogue also. And he had written an account about of a 50 years accomplishment from the times of Pete Mondrian, Wesley Kandinsky to the post of American abstract painters.
Yeah.
So this book inspired me, and I wanted to be like a forerunner. So what is forerunner? That all these artists who are featured in that book, if they were to see my work, they would find that I am very unique. As much as each of them are claimed by the art historians as very unique,
Okay.
like something like Van Gogh. He's the whole entire universe feels he is very unique in his work. Picasso, he is unique in his work. That way, an individuality that nobody else can work that way has to be achieved by an artist. That I could do that in my abstract.
Yeah, the individuality aspect of it is like it's like
Yes,
a recurring theme that
yes.
I notice quite often. Um,
And
I,
also, my point of research
yeah.
was that I went into the. I thought about at one point. I thought, why is this Van Gogh? He committed suicide, and Pollock, Jackson Pollock, committed suicide, and Rothko, he cut his hand. But
Damn.
these are accomplished artists, so like Basquiat.
Hmm.
These people were miserable, though the market price was something like millions,
Hmm.
and it went into auctions for millions of dollars. But yet, what about their personal life? Did anybody look into their personal life? See, all kinds of intellectual dialogue can go through that. This he was against this, he was against that, he had this suffering and that suffering. But why? Why did that suffering? Why was he not being able to be accomplished? And then in his life also, as a success, he would just normally die as any other human.
Hmm.
But why that abnormal death of ending oneself? That kind of misery should not come to such an individual
Hmm.
who has been such a genius. This
Yeah.
is my question. So I thought it could some at stage it could happen to me as an artist born in India. If I'm totally focused on art, and at one point, by Indian standards or international standards, I might create an abstraction, which tomorrow the world might say Hariram is one of the best abstract painters. But I don't want to end up something. In my personal life, I don't want to end up as a miserable person.
Yeah.
I should die as a happy man, something which worked or did not work, but I should die peacefully. So when I went into that, then I felt that there is something which you do with most of them miss out is something about the consciousness.
Hmm.
So why? Because of not being very conscious about our actions and all that. Though we achieve that height of, genius, we are unable to sustain that in our personal lives and then continue that happiness as much as we could do that work with that happiness.
You mean like because that success, the feeling of success is so fleeting, it just
Yeah.
fleets, and then you're
Yes.
back to sort of going back to your default state,
Yes. Yes.
and you have to find joy in everything in life.
Yes.
And is that one of the things that you're trying to do in your
Then I
life?
found out, yes, that's the reason. Then I found out the main reason is there's a divide between this. Abstraction is something not a property of one particular country, right? Abstraction has been there in India also. In India, it has been in a different way.
Really?
Abstraction has been in a different way. For instance, I'll tell you something. There is a. I'll tell you something. Can we continue after the
Yeah.
lunch? Like idea podcast. Is
The idea
that
sandbox.
yours? Is that yours?
Yes.
Idea sandbox.
Yeah, you should see like
Or
11 episodes on there, 11 podcasts on there.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
You must tell me which one is that, and so.
Yeah, I'll show it to you. It's
I could see that sometime.
Yeah, so you were number one on that podcast.
Yes.
And then after you, I had
I saw a couple of them.
Okay. Yeah, and.
But are people watching it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a. I have anywhere from 200 to 500 YouTube views, and then on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, it's about 100 listens or something. It's not a whole lot. It's not a viral channel.
Okay.
It's very small at the moment.
Okay.
It's okay. I'm just doing it, making sure that I put out the right product that I respect.
Okay.
Like you said, you put out a piece of art that you want to feel proud of it, and it's representative of you, right? And it's like similarly to me, I'm like, if I'm doing the work that I'm doing and I'm having fun doing it, and the views are not there, it's okay. I'm not I don't feel down on myself or anything. It's like, it's okay. It's not for everybody. Like I said, somebody gave me the feedback that, hey, you might want to shorten it. And I thought, well, these conversations that we have, some of them typically need to just go in like for a long time, because to understand a person and their 5-decade career, 6-decade career, whatever, it takes a while, because they have so many experiences, they have so much wisdom they want to share. And I'm like, I don't want to cut you down.
Right.
I want the authentic self of who you are. So it's not for everybody. It's like some people say, it's like sometimes. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter even if it is a couple of hours.
Oh yeah. You and me, I think we did it for 2 hours roughly.
Yes, 1 hour, 46 minutes.
46 minutes, yeah.
It's almost nearly 2 hours.
Yeah, and that was like such a learning experience for me. I'm so glad.
Can we replay and see how it's come?
The one that we just recorded?
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, we can. I can show you later on. It's recording now.
Yeah, okay. It's recording as we are speaking.
Yeah.
Everything is recording.
Everything is recording.
Okay.
I typically don't. I don't want to. Oh, I got to tell you this, Hari. There was one episode I did, number 6, with a bluegrass country musician. It was a lesson learned for me. And she's my mother-in-law. She's just like you, very accomplished. She's been at this game for 50 years. She's performed in a variety of different bands. She has a loyal following. She's well known in the area, all of that stuff. And so we started the podcast, and I said, I hit the record button, and I said, okay, now let's talk about things. When we did that, I immediately kind of froze.
This sometimes it makes a noise.
It's okay. When I said that, when I hit start, and I was like, okay, Carol, how are you? Or can you sing a song or something? I said, it was like so awkward. The transition into getting into a conversation was so awkward. And we really couldn't I felt like there was a block. And so I thought, okay, lesson learned for me is that, look, let the camera roll. Whenever the conversation takes off, it takes off. And if it never takes off, it's okay. No rules. Let's
very casual.
Very casual. This is the way we talk in normal life, right? Like I don't sit here and be like, so Hari, tell me about X,
Okay.
I'm like, no, and friends don't talk like that.
Yeah.
Close friends don't talk like that. Relatives don't talk like that. We just ease into a conversation.
Right.
Yeah, I forgot what we stopped on. You were talking about something interesting.
It's gone totally out of my mind.
Can I tell you something? This is off topic, okay? And we'll come back to art and things like that. This is going to be so off the topic here. It's been my observation that at regular intervals in Bangalore, I don't want to generalize to India, but in the circles that I roam around, there is this disdain for westernized medicine, what is called westernized medicine. I don't buy into that because I think medicine is medicine. It's all scientifically derived, right? But there's this kind of, I don't know, certain sections of society feel like we should approach it with natural remedies, we should approach it with Ayurveda and things like that. And the reason why, yesterday I went to buy a pair of shorts in near my house, and I went to this showroom. There was a guy who was supposed to show me around, and he had a serious speech impediment. And I tried the shorts on; it was fine. And he was a young guy; he was probably in his 20s or something. And I felt like really sorry for him. He was barely able to speak. I said, if you don't mind, can I ask you a question? And he's like, yeah, go for it. I said, have you ever shown this thing to a specialist? Have you ever, seen somebody so he can help you with the speech impediment? And he said, no, in my village, my parents took me to a Nati Vaidya place, natural medicine place, and they prescribed Jain Tuppa, some kind of Jain Tuppa thing, some kind of Nallikai thing, some kind of mango leaves thing. And he went on to explain 3 or 4 things. And I said to him, like, look, I can tell you for sure that there are proven ways to solve this problem. People in the West do it all the time. Like in America, where I'm from, where I live, I've seen people with really bad speech impediments, like, get better because they work at it, and it's a proven scientific method and all that. You should go for this. And he was very hesitant, maybe no, maybe not. And I thought to myself, like, geez, this guy is in his 20s. You should be talking normally and all that. And why are we dwelling on this, like, this natural medicine? It's not giving us the results that we want. I hear this stuff all the time. My mom tells me things, and I hear, my aunt, my uncle's wife, who's bedridden, and she tried homeopathy and all that, Ayurveda and all that, and she's bedridden now. Why don't we embrace the scientific method more? Why is there such a, I don't know if you'd be interested in answering the question, but it just bothered me. It's like, why aren't we embracing science and technology? That there is some proven things. There's evidence-based medicine, right? I don't know if you have any thoughts about this, Hari.
No, the thing is, what happens, the main reason is the medical profession has become more of a money-making, process. So, the patients, they go with an expectation that the doctor shows some sympathy and love towards them, and then try to treat them, and then they come out of it. But what happens is that when they go to the doctors, they're very totally, completely, you can't expect that love or affection. They're doing their business there.
You mean it's changed
It's
over
changed,
time?
yeah.
People are more like business minded about it.
It's business minded, and the doctors go more by all these tests and that and this, and they prescribe the medicines.
Okay.
And eventually, the next day, maybe one medicine which they took did not agree with their system. Next day, they come to know that that particular medicine did not agree. They can't go back to the doctor and say, this medicine isn't working for me. And the doctor will not change the prescription just because this guy is telling it's not working. Maybe it's not working because he is not taking the proper diet.
Yeah.
All these things are there. But what happens is the homeopaths or the the Ayurvedic doctors, what they do is they go into the reason really what happens, and then they give them this
Yeah.
these traditional age-old system things,
Yeah.
the medications, which they are comfortable with. At least they can interact with them, and then unlike the hospitals.
Yeah. I'm actually going to talk to
Yeah.
3 doctors.
Yeah.
I'm scheduled to have a podcast actually.
Mm.
One general physician guy, 2 one mental health person, and another person speaking about Parkinson's and all of those kind of diseases and stuff. it's my passion. One of the things, because my grandma suffered from mental health a lot, so I really want to dive into that. Like, why in India? I was in fact talking to this Dr. Shrikant, who I'm going to have a podcast with soon here. He was telling me the same exact thing, that it seems like we've become this kind of money making business model. We should shift into more like, where can we be most effective, and how do we get more value for money for people, make it affordable and not just make it like just a pure marketplace. It's just, there's more to it. There's compassion and stuff. So anyway, it just really bothered me. I needed to get that off my chest. I was wondering what you think about it.
Yes.
Yeah, another question for you. Abstract art. So you're into abstract art, Hari. Can you tell me how does art affect a person's psyche? If I look at a painting, right, what is happening to me? What do you expect to evoke? What kind of an emotion do you expect to evoke in a person who's watching it? Is it meant to evoke any kind of emotion? Do you expect a particular kind of emotion? Is it important to appreciate art? Why is it important to appreciate art? Like, why is it important for us to care about art?
See, the thing is, what happens, it's something like this. We can go in a very simpler way. Now,
Okay.
you go to the stores, actually. You want to buy your shirts or the pant and all that. Now, you have a certain sense that you choose this color, the blue color pant with that color, slightly, which has got a lavender or it's off white or something like that.
Yeah,
So you feel that it goes well with your clothing. So does that not impact your mind?
it does.
Supposing when you leave home and I give you, as a father or somebody, I'm looking after you and think that I am a very rude father. I tell you must wear a black pant and a red shirt
Yeah.
today. I think your whole day is gone.
Yes.
So what happens? Art is something where the artist is trying to be in tune with the nature, so that if you are in tune with the nature, that harmony is brought into the house. So art is about a certain emotion. It's not about it can't speak. So it's about a certain harmony of color. It's a visual impact that creates the forms play interplay with each other, and there's some concept which you like.
Okay.
So it's something like a piece of art. So when you keep it on a wall, it could create a very meditative temperament also.
Yes.
Supposing if it's just light or it's an abstract painting, where I can give you one example of I had a show in Alliance Francaise in 1975.
This is in Bangalore, Alliance
In
Francaise.
Bangalore,
Yeah.
I had. This was 1975, and this one particular the Alliance Francaise gallery was in an auditorium. So this auditorium had the wall, and all these paintings used to be displayed. And the podium, the pedestal,
Yes.
the platform used to be there.
I've been to Alliance Francaise. I know
The
what it, there's
platform.
an auditorium inside,
So when
right?
there is
Yeah.
no exhibition going on, it can serve as an auditorium.
Yes.
So I had my works all around,
Okay.
and there's this particular one gentleman. He's a Britisher who came there. He had a beard, and he used to come. I used to see this guy come and sit over this platform and look at one singular painting for nearly an hour.
Wow.
He used to just sit there with his hand in his chin like this, and then just keep looking at this painting. And this painting was nothing but I had done a painting of a landscape where it's a river and there's a rock on top of it. On top of the rock, there's a shell. There's a white conch shell, and actually it's not a river. It's kind of water area,
Uh-huh.
and there's a rock kind of structure, and on this there's a shell is seated on that white shell.
Yeah.
And the whole background is muted, like with browns and greens and all that. and there's a diffused light coming from top and falling on the shell, and it's a very calm, peaceful light, and the shell is so. This is also giving the feel of a poetic nature. It's very much attuned to vibrant music. If you play vibrant music, it will get attuned. That
Okay.
kind of painting. So it's a landscape where you see the distance, you see the rock, you see the conch shell, and the conch shell is very silent. But with all that, there is a poetry going on. There's a sound it creates with the light gently falling and all the foliage, the birds, few birds flying and all
Yeah.
that. This Britisher was observing this painting for a very long time, and I never went and disturbed him. And I didn't want, because I never had the salesman attitude,
Okay.
going and asking them. Immediately in India they'll pounce over him and ask him, "Sir, you're looking at this. You like this work?"
2 lakh rupees.
Then I have in the mind about selling this work to him, and then even if he doesn't like, no, 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 sir, you tell me how you want me to
Is
do
that how it
another
is?
work.
Is that how they do
They
it?
do that sometimes.
Really?
See, these people have turned. See, art is not to be treated as a commodity. Art is something where you have to go within. Supposing I tell you, I told you about this color and aspect. This I'll come to this story in what happened.
Yeah.
Supposing you have your wife.
Hmm.
You tell your wife. There is a store there. Today is your birthday. You can buy a sari. So, how much would you like to buy the sari for? Your wife knows that there's a sari for 200 rupees, which she could purchase for her servant for her birthday. As a birthday gift, she can give it to the servant. It could start from 500 or 1000. Now, your wife could give the same different sari from the same shop to a bride, to a friend who is getting married. For her, she can't buy a 1000 rupees or a 500 rupees sari. She will step up and buy a 10,000 rupees sari or a 20,000 rupees sari. Supposing there is another person, her own daughter, your own daughter, she is getting married, you want a gorgeous sari for her to wear. Then you look into the store and see if there is a sari. There's a sari even for a lakh. There's a sari for 10 lakhs. So the amount of work gone into the sari says it's expensive. So you have a range of saris which starts from 200 to 500 rupees up to 1 lakh to 50 lakhs.
Mm-hmm.
So now how does, supposing you go to the shop, the shopkeeper, you want to buy a sari and he says, what's your budget? She says, see, look, I want to buy for my daughter. I want the most expensive sari. How would you feel if the salesman takes out a 1000 rupee sari and places in front of you?
It depends on how the sari looks.
Isn't it?
Right.
So why is it different that the sari is different and artwork is different? I'm not reducing an artwork to the level of a sari, but I'm telling you about the surface, the texture, the treatment, the color, the amount of work that has gone into it, the brain work that has gone into it, and the amount of emotion that has gone into making that product or something like that. So not only the artwork, anything made by a human, which has got the quality. That's why we don't differentiate from a craft or a person who just paints a landscape. Is no different from a person who does the highest kind of abstraction. He too is an artist. But how much this artist has understood and how much that artist has understood, that's the difference. How much of content he has absorbed and how much of information he has gathered and how much he has worked towards that, how much of a inner eye he has, how much he has absorbed, how much he has taken is the thing that
Is the value.
is the value it gains. It's something like you blow a soap bubble, I blow a soap bubble. You blow a bubble, I blow a bubble this much, you blow a bubble. So you gather that much and I gather this much. In life, it's like that. So what happens is artwork has got different levels. It has got different. So what you like as an art, I may not like. And
Yeah.
what I like in an art, you may not like. If you like figurative, I may not like figurative, I may like abstraction. You may just like a landscape, simple landscape. You may say, nobody is better than Ravi Verma, and you may buy a Ravi Verma. Or you may say, nobody can beat the Renaissance artists. They were so meticulous. Rembrandt. Look at Rembrandt. Can you paint like Rembrandt? You could ask an abstract painter who is selling for a $400 million a painting. But the thing is, Rembrandt is different from Mark Rothko, isn't it? So, what is the difference? The difference is the evolution, the epoch making. So, in the epoch making, uh, even fashion is subject to the time. So, elegance is also subject to the fashion of that time, isn't it? You could create something very elegant, but it may not be fashionable during that time. So what happens? There is lot. You can't answer this question in one nutshell, because it's a very vast thing when it comes to art. The different sense perceptions, and then the way you look at things, and the audience who look at it, and the cultures which look at it, and the people who look at it. They're all different. Different perspectives are involved in viewing a work of art.
Okay. So, is it safe to say then, when an artist makes a piece of art, he really puts his heart into it? He's got a certain perspective, he's got a certain emotion. He encodes all of that into his artwork, let's say. That's when the artwork kind of really would, when you put in the effort, it kind of reflects in the piece of art. Is that what you're saying? Like, I guess I'm trying to analogize. Like, if I'm doing an engineering piece of work, like software I'm building or hardware I'm building, like if I'm really putting my best foot forward, my experiences, my sensibilities, and things like that, like it will reflect ultimately in the final product, right? Like like if you can look at a cheap product and you can look at a nicely designed product, and the nicely designed product looks like the person who was making it was really passionate about it. Like I have this pair of sunglasses from Japan. I looked at this brand called Dita, Dita, and I looked for 10 years for the perfect pairs of glasses. It's not perfect, but I wanted a certain look, and I bought it as a used thing in America, and the craftsmanship is so detail oriented. It looks like somebody really cared when they were making it. And you're saying that's how artwork is too, when you put in you pour your soul into it almost.
It's very
Your experiences and everything, you encode it in there. That's the value you're looking at. It's not just some dollar value on it, right? Um, but then people who want to buy it too, they want to put a tag, a price tag on it and things like that. How do you know what something is worth? How do you know, like, I'm going to price this at 20,000 rupees? How do you make that judgment? Do you already have in mind, like, man, I really worked hard on this thing, this is worth X amount of rupees? How do you know that?
See, what happens is when you go to school of art, you start studying, and then there are certain students who even go into exhibiting work while they are a student.
Okay.
There are artists who even win international awards for their work. You could be a student and you could participate in an international exhibition, and your work might get an international award. The same way you could get a national award, or you could get recognition even as your student, depending on how sensible you are in your work, and how dedicated, and also how much you can absorb, how much of knowledge you have. It's something beyond knowledge.
Okay.
It's something which there could be an inner genius in which we believe in that genius, right? See, now when you take the Renaissance artists, there have been umpty number of Renaissance artists. It's not just Leonardo da Vinci and few names, like Rembrandt, Raphael. These artists have been branded as genius because they did something very extraordinary during their lifetime. So this extraordinary kind of work are the extraordinary men who have had special talents which they developed as they became as genius. Now you say, when you an ordinary child does something or an ordinary person does something, you say he's talented. When what the talented person himself cannot do it, it's a genius.
I didn't understand and follow that perfectly with you. When a talented person is not able to do it, you're saying that's
It's a
genius?
genius.
Do what?
No. Because you are unable to make me do what you can.
Yeah, can I give you a quick anecdote?
You got a.
I understand what you're saying. I want to like.
That's why I said what the talent himself cannot do.
Yeah.
Then it's the genius.
You know, in this context, I have a quick anecdote for you, and it's been going on in my mind. I've been reading this off and on through the various books and journals and people I follow. One of the things they say is like, nobody can be as good as you except you.
Yeah.
You know, so if you want to like build your own brand, be the best you can be in whatever you're good at.
Yeah.
Because nobody can beat you in being you. And I thought that's such a genius idea, because it's like, yeah, I am the product of many different factors, you know, different parents who have different backgrounds, my friends, my school, my ancestry, all of these things have come together and given me this kind of a body and mind and all of that. Nobody else can share this. And it's up to me to manifest myself as authentically as possible. Nobody else can copy that. You know, like, I don't know if you've heard of Joe Rogan. They use this analogy quite often. Joe Rogan is a very, very prominent podcaster. He's got 12 million subscribers, all that stuff. He's done this for more than a decade. Like, nobody can be a Joe Rogan like Joe Rogan, you know, because he just has the ability to do that. And it resonated with me that, oh, okay, so we should all try to be our most authentic selves. Even if you don't make money, it's okay. You'll at least be fulfilled at what you're doing, and you'll be the best at what you do. Going back to earlier, the point, Hari.
No, again, I want to tell something which I haven't
Please.
finished. See, now you spoke about even the value pricing.
Yes.
Now the pricing is, now the difference is about a work is between the talent and the genius. Isn't it? So now even if you take at a very ordinary level,
Yeah.
now I make a tea. I make such a bad tea, I can't sell it more than 1 rupee.
Because people won't buy it.
Now you have a technique of making a tea, and that tea costs 100 rupees. So if there are 10,000 people waiting for the tea, there will be 100 people drinking my tea because they don't have enough fund.
Right.
But no other go, no choice, they drink my tea. And there are 90,000 people there waiting to take your tea.
Yeah.
Because even though it's more expensive, they can't afford it or what, the taste drags, and then they pay the money for you.
But how do you know, as a creator of the tea, that your tea is worth 100 rupees? How do you judge that?
As a creator.
Yeah, how do you judge that as a creator?
Yeah, because you know it's a market price.
Okay.
See, the purchase, the money is a legal tender which has to be used everywhere.
Right.
So supposing I am pricing my painting today at 100 rupees a square feet, and I find that the whole lot of my show has been sold out. Supposing I say 100 rupees this, 100 rupees that, and then 40
Yeah.
paintings, and all of it is sold.
Yeah.
Next exhibition, I slightly improvise it and put 200.
Yeah.
And when people are still be prepared to buy it because they say Hariraam's work is good, I'll take his work.
Yeah.
So I gain that market value, I get that identity, and also I build this very carefully.
Okay.
And anything is subject to evolution. Nothing goes backward.
Yeah.
Anything, if you try to improve, it can go forward. In the process of evolution, it started from the fish. We have come up to this level
Right.
of becoming an advanced human being
Yeah.
with such great brains.
How, speaking of evolution, Hari,
Yeah.
how do you evolve yourself? Do you actively try to evolve yourself, or you just kind of let life play out in your, let kind of events play out? Do you read a lot of books? Do you visit certain art galleries? Do you read up on other things? Like, how do you make sure you're intellectually evolving, emotionally evolving all the time? Like, how does that happen? Or do you actively try to do that?
I would like to deal this as a very personal question.
Yeah.
If you ask me as a personal question, I was totally unconscious to many things. From young, I used to be careless about studies. I used to be careless about this, that, anything.
Yeah.
Even if I go to a toilet, I used to be careless. I go to a bathroom, I used to be careless. Sleeping careless, eating careless.
I was too.
Everything like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So, throw anything there, throw everything absent-minded, everything.
Yeah.
But what happened is that's the way I was bringing myself up. I never used to listen to anybody, do my own thing, do the way I like. So eventually, when a person travels like this, through the journey of life, it's an evolution. I'm also evolving along with other things, other creatures, other humans. I'm
Yeah.
evolving, but this is the way I am evolving.
Right.
When I evolve like this at one point of time, when I really face life, I get the
Jolted.
yeah, and then I have to learn.
You have to
At
learn.
every stage, I start learning.
Okay.
Until such time, what happens? I will come to the point.
Yeah.
This is the main thing. What I was telling about artists reaching the highest level of perfection, but in life, lowest level of perfection in handling their own affairs, and then they end their lives. This is the reason. So in the process of evolution, your main thing is what from what do you learn the lesson is because of your negligence, because of your unconscious acts, subconscious act. The consciousness means we normally think, if I'm in the hospital, I'm lying down in coma, and you are waiting outside the room, and you want to know whether Hariram is gone into coma, is he going to come back? The doctor comes and says, don't worry, your friend Hariram is awake. He's got back his consciousness.
Yeah.
So you say, everybody you tell, Hariram is conscious, he's got back his consciousness. That's not consciousness.
Right.
I get back, open up my eyes, you think I am conscious, but I am the most unconscious guy laying down there, and I brought all that on me because of my unconsciousness. And I'm still unconscious, though you all see me as consciously awake.
Right.
See, this is the difference. So this word consciousness is being flung around all kinds of
things, it's thrown around. Yeah.
It's not that. Consciousness that you are aware about your actions, your consequences, your clarity.
Yeah.
When you have that clarity, you get that confidence. So I was talking to you about in the previous podcast, I was saying that in the darkness you won't step in because you can't see anything clearly. But in the daylight you go there because you're clear. So even in life where there is clarity, where you are real, this I can do, it is 100% I can do, then your confidence comes to do it. But if you are not sure, you think, you assume that you can get it done. I know this, I can do that, I can do this. That is, you're blindly stepping it without your own personal clarity that you can achieve these things. So this kind of confidence and things, without the clarity, gives you takes you into the wrong path. So the consciousness is nothing but you act so in your life that it does benefit others. It takes care of others' welfare also. It doesn't harm anybody else, and it doesn't harm you also. So to gain that level of consciousnness, you need to slowly understand things and evolve from that. So evolution is something like that which happens. Now after I had this stroke, I knew the reason also. And every person knows the result of why it has happened. You take bad food, eventually you can't expect to have an excellent stomach. You have to go and to the loo. So what happens is you realize that I had this bad stuff, so next time I should not do that. That is the thing which is called, you become more conscious of your own self. So you don't bury that, your experience is something like, that point of time what happened is I started following what is the spiritual journey.
You mean when you had the stroke?
That stroke I understood, and then I wanted to go deeper into the study of these gurus and the spiritual masters who can guide you. So when I went into that, one of the spiritual masters actually says this. He says, your experiences are like your bad experience from where you learned. Very dirty things happen to you and you learned from that. Those are like potatoes. You bury them, they start growing. You just say, I'll bury them, and then you start doing the same thing again. It starts growing. You keep on repeating it. But if you take the potato, dry it, and keep it, it keeps reminding you, here I am. Don't bury me. Don't neglect me. Then you are bury me in the ground. Then I am going to again. It is going to recur. So it's something like that, So you learn. Those are the things which you learn, and you start growing alongside. So that what happens during the journey, your soul also travels in a very conscious way, and you harbor the difficulties in life much easier.
Yeah.
And then also, it opens up certain other dimensions. That's where I was telling about Paul Klee. He says, the heart that beat for this world has almost been extinguished in me. It is as though my only bond with these things were memory. One relinquishes this world and builds into a region beyond. Paul Klee didn't get this when he was a young boy at 5 years old. But through his experience, he came to know that giving up all this, and then you carry on with your journey of life as a soul, as an individual person. Your body is and mind is only an accumulation of what you got from everywhere. But your soul is a journey which understands everything and evolves and then goes to a higher dimension.
Yeah, there's a lot of social conditioning, social messaging that happens subliminally, unconsciously as well. And, that's something I've gotten very aware of for the last couple of years, especially in the context of thinking for yourself, right? We're almost brainwashed to think a certain way that you have to make so much money or you have to have so much wealth or material possessions. You have to have this in your relationship with your wife or children or whatever. And when you strip all that out and you realize, okay, for me, A, B, C, D are the only important things, and then you start living your life that way, it's hard to do that because, there's expectations. Like you also, like, I feel like in my case, society, my parents, my friends, all of that stuff, their voices are also sort of embedded in your mind. And you're trying to live your life kind of like to that game plan, that game plan that was put in place. And it's like, no, your heart can tell you what that game plan is. You know what makes you happy day to day. Just do that. I want to come back to your earlier point. You were talking about, we were talking about evolution, right? Like, the reason why I asked you that question is how do you keep yourself evolving all the time? I can't tell you at how many regular intervals I'll see a 15-year-old boy in like a 70-year-old body.
No, yes.
I see that quite often. People stop evolving because, I don't know, either you just don't have a guidance, or maybe we think of other milestones in our lives as achievements and we think intellectual evolution is secondary. We don't have to do that. It's not very obvious, it seems to me, in society. Doesn't matter which society. It's not very obvious that we have to evolve. And like, one of the things I want to do in my podcast is promote those ideas. Like, how do you make sure that you're also evolving? How do you measure your evolution, right? How do you make sure that you're better today in 2023 than you were 2022? Like, do you get triggered as often? Are you do you find yourself more peaceful with yourself? Do you find yourself very reactionary? Like, all of these metrics, like, it's a measurable thing, right? And yeah, I just was curious, like, from your perspective, I'm sure you do all of that stuff and it manifests in the work that you do. But is there something actively that you do? One of the many demons that I had to fight in my life was, I still fight with some demons, is that, am I doing enough? Am I working on enough? And I felt like in the last 1 month, especially, like, I had to experience certain things. I had to go through certain things, and especially right now, I'm on a sabbatical. I'm not working, so it's like a different, like, value system in my life. Like, all my value I derived from being at Caterpillar. I'm doing this and that and the other thing. Now I'm like actively working my podcast, but there's no corporate structure to this. I'm not getting a paycheck at the end of the month. I'm not there's no manager doing my evaluation, right? Like this, for 17 to 20 years, I did that. And now it's a different phase of my life where I have to hold myself accountable. I have to make sure my work is top notch, it's sharp, I'm evolving. But trusting yourself is also an aspect of it. I had very little trust in myself in the past. I've been very insecure about my abilities, and it's like slowly evolving. And I'm not saying I'm evolved and things like that. I'm just saying that it's a continuous journey, and it seems like it's a hard thing. You have to look yourself in the mirror and be self-critical at times. You have to, I don't know, be humble. Like, I look at podcasts, Hari, and be like, oh, why did I say that? It's embarrassing, And and people will say, well, maybe you can cut that out. Like, I don't want to cut that out. Like, let it be a record of my stupidity or my ignorance or my narrow-mindedness, because that's a good reminder that if I look back in 1 year or something, okay, so I was thinking that way. I made that mistake. Thankfully, I'm not making that mistake, or maybe I am making that mistake. Maybe I am still insecure, Anyway, going back, Hari, like one of the things you mentioned, I want to talk about is that when we last spoke, this was 2022, February, if I remember right. So this is a year and a half, roughly, let's say, we spoke, and you said you were depressed at that point of time in your life. Can you describe why you were in depression? What happened? Can you share that with us? I know it's a very personal thing. If you don't want to, we don't have to. What happened? Like, how did you get out of the depression? How did you work yourself out of that?
See, I tell you, I don't want to go much into the details.
Yeah.
It so happens that sometimes we do things unconsciously.
Yeah.
We could hurt somebody or some problem. And this happens, I learned a lesson, a lot of lesson, and I have a spiritual guide too, I took up to spiritual path in a certain way, because I felt that's a very authentic path that one could safely take, rather than we choose our own path. It's like a GPS, So when we are lost when we don't know which path we are taking, there's a guidance which says you take left or right and you go on this.
But doesn't your heart already kind of help you with that?
It does help. But what happens, too much of our intelligence and our identity starts working. Because all these years, from young, we always were given this identity. See, even when you are a child, they send you to school. They say that guy got 90% in mathematics, but why did you get 45, they say, when you get back home?
Because I'm not good.
Yeah, you're not good, but the parents are depressed. You had breakfast this morning, 10 idlis you had, and you had stomach full, but you come here and stand here and say you're depressed and you didn't do good.
Yeah.
But that fellow didn't even eat two idlis. So I think I should starve you so that you get it. So it's always like they want me to do better than the next door fellow, right?
Right.
So what happens? This nature gets into us. So I always want better thing. I want a better thing, better. I want a better car. I want a better house. I want a better wife. I want a better this and better.
It's okay to have that aspiration.
It's good, but what happens eventually? Where does it take you? You want to be better than everybody. I want to be better than you in everything.
I feel like you can stop at some point. You say, this is good enough.
It will not. It will not. Because what happens, human life is by itself, the soul is it's placed in such a way that it's going towards the boundless. We are not bonded.
Which is a good thing, right?
Boundless, but you are bonded inside this body, you want to cut loose and go. But what happens is you can't do it instantly. It's only the spiritual path which helps you to do that, not all this materialistic way.
I agree with that.
So when you take that survival path as the sole thing, and you become the Tatas or Birlas, or tomorrow you become the king of the world. So what? If you become everything you get, but still you're unhappy. The entire universe I give you, you're still unhappy. You want another universe also to include.
But that's just a tweak. I feel like that's just a tweak in your heart. Like, That's just a tweak. It's just a tweak in your attitude towards things. The reason why I'm saying this is that by no means am I claiming I'm spiritually evolved. I'm just saying that it occurred to me at some point in the last year or couple of years, like, look, all of these material possessions are one thing, but you could also just be happy to be alive. It makes sense. You could be happy to have 4 limbs. Like, there are innumerable people who suffer with terminal illnesses without limbs and all of that.
But we are not trained to look at ourselves that way right from our young age.
I agree with that. All I'm saying is I don't need an external guru to tell me that. I'm just saying it's a recognition that can come from within. Okay. That I have 4 limbs, 24 hours a day, a brain that can think. I can make myself, I can smile at another human being and watch the other person smile back, and that's an awesome moment. That's happiness. I don't need a gold chain for that happiness, right? And I feel like spiritual gurus. This is my personal opinion. Please. This is a discussion, right? So they're far too often, and I've been in a I mean, I don't want to name the name. I've been in a I'll beep it out. I just want to name the name. It feels like there are awesome things in there. Like there's meditation, there's mindfulness, and all of that stuff. Okay, great. But then there's other things get smuggled into it, like dogmas about rebirth, dogmas about karma, and all of that. I feel that's dogma. Like I have to take a leap of faith to believe in that stuff because it's not a falsifiable notion. I can't falsify rebirth. I can't create an experiment to say, is rebirth happen or not? Yes, it's true. Yes, it's false. You can't falsify that. So when it's not falsifiable, I don't want to induct that into my belief system, right? And so I think, okay, let me take the good parts of it, which is meditation and some of the mindfulness aspects of it. But again, that wisdom to be happy with what you have. I'll give you a quick anecdote. When Emily and me were in a restaurant, this is in the US, we're having dinner on the evening or something. There's all these amazing woodwork that was made by this carpenter guy who's kind of hanging around. And we were sitting down there. This guy comes up and I say, hey, is it okay if I move our table closer to the fire? There was a fire pit in the middle. And he said, oh yeah, go for it. I'll help you with it. And he was really, really helpful. It turns out that he was the carpenter guy who maintains all the stuff there. And he had such a gravitas about him. He had such like energy about him, like a sense of like fulfilledness about him. And I thought, man, like I wish, like that's like to me an example of somebody who's self-actualized, who's like very happy to be in his own skin. It seems like he loves doing what he does in carpentry, whatever it is. Like that's the ideal I want for all of us to enjoy. And I was like, I take that example because I used to sort of think like, if you have to be successful, you have to have certain, indications of that. Like you have to wear a suit and a pair of nice shoes and nice car and all of this stuff. Like, no, it's not there. The happiness, the success, the contentment in life, the satisfaction in life it's just like up here, really. You have to be in peace with it, right? Like you have to be in peace with whatever you're doing that gives you the joy. It doesn't have to be materialistic. It can be materialistic. It doesn't have to be spiritual. It can be spiritual. It doesn't have to be intellectual. It can be whatever your recipe is. It's like unique. I know I'm going on a long rant here, Hari. Like I just wanted to know what your thoughts. What are your thoughts?
That's very right, because what happens is, see, not everybody is same.
Right.
Not in the evolutionary in the evolutionary world. There's a person. Each of us are different.
Absolutely.
That's why I just told you about the air bubble. When you soap bubble, when you blow, I might blow a small bubble, but you could.
Let me get my water bottle.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
It's okay. That much.
You're right.
But mine is this much.
Right.
So to come to that level also, I must evolve there. Now, for you, this is not enough. This is not enough because you know the entire universe is you. So until you touch that point of existence, you are not completed your evolution. For instance,
And
I'll
even
tell
that is infinite.
you, infinite. Because
Yeah.
where do you see me? You tell me.
I know, it's a good question.
I'm asking you right now. Where do you see
I
me?
see you in my consciousness.
No, you see me right now. You point out your finger and tell me where do you see me physically?
I mean, I know it's a trick question. I see you there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you see me here.
But it's not really true, right? Because I see you're a manifestation of all
Ah,
the neural signals I'm getting in my brain.
and then it's the image you are seeing. It's
Exactly.
passing through your retina and all that.
Exactly.
The image, upside down image. Then it's like a camera. It's acting,
Right.
and I'm there. You see a star at a distance. The star isn't there. It's there. You are watching the star from inside you.
Right.
So everything in the universe is inside you already. But you are trapped here. This is where the karma point comes.
Why do you say you're trapped here?
You are
Why do you
trapped
use the
because
word
you are
trap?
trapped because some karmic effect is there. See, you are in India. We believe that they say your life is your karma.
Hmm.
That means to say some karmic effect. See, karma is something where you might you might be carrying. I might be carrying ton loads of it. It's all depends on what we have done from the past. It keeps coming there every
But
birth.
that's a leap of faith, right? Like we can't prove any of that.
No, it's not like that. It's
I could say, for example,
mm, mm.
I'm a biological manifestation of
Mm.
a sperm and an egg meeting together, making a zygote, an embryo, a fetus, and a baby,
Mm.
and actively accruing this biological body, subjected to all of these experiences and all of that stuff and influences in life. And then here I am. That's a very rational explanation for it. Why do we have to invoke karma into this? Like I am, from a karma perspective, the way I conceptualize it is there's a cause and effect. Like if I did something bad to somebody in the past, there is a certain karma, if you want to call it, but you get personally affected by that because you're sort of guilty that you did something bad to another human being, right? But then to say that, I don't know, I want to know your perspective about this. That's why I'm not negating what you're saying. I'm just saying I want to get to the root of why this karmic theory makes so much sense for us. It doesn't make sense to me. It's a belief system. I agree with that, but I feel it's also very limiting. Like a karmic belief is very limiting in the sense that, well, that means that I am um, I am damned. I am damned to live a certain life. I can't change my destiny. And it's very limiting. That idea to me is like very limiting. On the other hand, if I think, well, every moment is open, every moment is a ton of opportunity for me to go and grab something, get that experience, go talk to that person, see that thing, take in that piece of art, then I'm changing my destiny actively because I'm saying, okay, and then I'm getting all these experiences. Then karma, whatever karma is, like I am actually I'm authoring my current present moment experience. Of course, there are a lot of things that are out of my control. Like if I take my car out and somebody hits me on the car, that's something I can't author. I get that. There's an aspect of luck in life, but karma seems like a very limiting belief. I don't know what your thoughts about
Okay,
that are.
I'll tell you. I'll come to the Western thing itself.
This is not Western.
No,
Let me clarify
I'll tell you.
that.
I'll tell you something
Okay.
about the Western.
Okay.
Now, there's a person I know
Okay.
who is an American who lives in America. He's an American.
Mhm.
This guy he happens to be my friend. This guy got married to a woman, and this marriage happened because they both fell in love and they got married. And before the marriage, they had come to my place in Chennai, both husband and wife. He was not working. She was working. She came on a scholarship, like a Fulbright scholarship or something like that. He got married. Now this guy, what happened? He got when he came there, here, he came along with her. And then he was an avid art collector. He used to collect works of art and all that. And then from that, he went back and got married to her and got a child also. They got a child. Now, after some time, this guy used to be there doing all kinds of small jobs. And this lady used to be very dynamic, move about places. She was highly scholarly, and then she used to be. And it so happened one of the after some time he came to know that his wife was not loyal to her, and he came to know that she was already in relationship with, and she was also pregnant, and she was living with this guy. Then when he came to know, they broke up and they went apart. And then this guy, what happened, he took to another he wanted to get married and came to another lady. So that lady, what happened is they both had live-in relationship, and he had a child through her also. So he had a daughter and a son. And this lady, incidentally, what happened after a year or so, he said she had a relationship with some another woman who was much elderly, and he came to know about it, and he put an end to that. And now presently he his earlier girlfriend somewhere came to his house. Why I am telling you is it's like a rigmarole, it's so complicated. And she came back, this girl who was earlier girlfriend, whom he didn't want to marry, rejected. She came back to her life, and she plotted something against her. She was staying one night, and next day she went and said in public that she went to his house as a guest or something, and he raped her. So she put a case against him, and he had to pay entire penalty, like he lost his business, everything, and then he had to lose all his money, his business, and then this lady he had to face her in the court because she had accused him of rape. And after that, again, in spite of knowing all this, he had another girlfriend. See, that's what I was telling you. The karma works like that. Karma is something what happens. It doesn't leave the person. It's like potatoes, I said. But when you do not get into that, not everybody does that.
But you can also you
See,
can also ascribe all of that to.
I'll tell you. I'll
Okay.
come to that.
Yeah.
So what happens is, as long as you are conscious, now as a person, as Rajiv, you know where you are to be conscious, how you are to handle this situation, how you have to handle yourself in that situation. If you know, that means that consciousness is coming. It's the consciousness that breaks the karma. So karma is not a taboo, or it's not a
but we could make society
so
more
society,
conscious.
That is it. That is it. So how do you make the society conscious? Is because we have never been taught anything, any damn thing. You are taught about biology, you are taught about physics, chemistry, that nonsense, history, all sorts of bullshit, which is all past and gone, dead and buried. They want to know. They want you to know about Akbar, Babur, all this nonsense, and anything which is of no use at all. Whatever you studied in the college and got your degree is of no use, consequences. You can say, I am a graduate. That's it.
Right.
And they teach you, and nothing of there is a subject called moral science. Even that they removed it. So nothing is taught there about consciousness or anything. Now what happens? The world, because it's going through pandemic. It had pandemic. The COVID and all that. Now they say there's going to be mental pandemic. That means people are going to suffer mentally. And mentally means if you are fine and I am mental, I could spread that to you in the same within this.
It's happening. Social contagion is a real thing.
It's happening. It's happening because, so what happens? We need somebody to guide us only under such circumstances. So where you need certain guidance, it's only through interaction you learn that aspect of it. So that consciously you take your life to a such an extent where your well-being and your happiness, everything, you are inwardly happy. Whatever happens externally is not your business.
Yeah.
You include everything, but you keep everything at a distance.
Yeah.
Everything is, you are inclusive. You are not exclusive. You are inclusive. You don't identify yourself with something. You are inclusive by
Yeah.
yourself. You're
Yeah, inclusive with others too.
inclusive with others.
Yeah,
You are
because
inclusive
you
with
believe
others.
everybody else
So
is
there are no
connected. We're all
boundaries.
connected.
You don't draw boundaries.
Yes.
You don't draw boundaries like
Yes. You remember we were talking on the phone, we were saying, people off late in Bangalore seem like everybody has this kind of like harsh emotional face, or there's kind of like there's no smile and things like that. And what comes to mind to me is that, when you just said there's a social contagion. Have you heard of this term, social contagion?
Yes.
So social contagion is like, just for the benefit of expanding, my understanding of it is that there are ideas that spread in society, just like viruses, for example. Ideas spread too. They're called memes. Memes are ideas, I guess, that are spread across society. And it could be that, and I totally concur with you, that I noticed that there's lesser people smiling, and I feel like media is manipulating us. TV media is manipulating us to kind of be more adversarial with each other. Like we're just more antagonistic. We want to say the thing like, I'm, this party, that party, Congress and BJP and that and stuff. And it's like, that's a social contagion. Like there is no real material differences between us. We've been through our thought, we've formed these kind of teams, we've formed these kind of tribes, right? And it's like it's a social contagion in the same sense that, like, I'll tell you my experience in Bangalore. I've been in for 3 weeks now, and my parents make fun of me about this. It's like, it sounds very weird and self-serving and kind of, I guess, cheesy, but I generally smile at people, whoever it is, doesn't matter who it is, and then I'll put my arm around them if it's a guy, not a girl or something, because I genuinely feel that way. And it so happens that when somebody else, the person I'm smiling at, looks back at me, initially they're kind of like startled, they're like, and then they'll smile, after that. And I'm thinking, well, there we go. We had a good interaction there. We're smiling, we're acknowledging each other as human beings. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? And let's break the social contagion.
Actually, it has to be that way.
Yeah, let's break the social contagion. Let's get along with each other. Let's honor the dignity of another human being. It doesn't matter what class, what caste, what part of society we're from, what profession you're doing. We're all being dealt a certain deck of cards by the universe and things like that. I don't want to use the word karma because I want to be still very rooted in rationality. So there's luck that plays in our lives. A certain set of sequence of events happen, and then it led to you and me. But we're all trying to do the same thing. We all want to be just happy and experience positive things in our lives, right? Let's all just kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, right.
That's my soapbox.
Right. So this is it. So that's a way of being conscious, living consciously. So when you start living consciously, immediately your karma is broken. You break the chains.
You mean like I can erase my karma?
Yeah, it is. What do you think?
That's pretty cool. I never knew that.
Yeah. What do you think happened to me? See, I told you about the stroke. When I realized where I made a mistake, I cut it off. I didn't bury it. I took that as an experience and rectified. The moment you apply the rectification and don't repeat that, or you come out of that, then you lead a more joyous life.
Yes.
The consciousness shows you that there is another dimension of existence. If you are conscious, that dimension of existence is better than getting embroiled into this karma, where you repeatedly do things and get into that.
Right. And the challenge in life is
unable to come out of that real pool.
Right. And then you keep questioning, why am I having all these bad experiences over and over? Like, maybe.
Yes. And they think everything is happening bad from them
externally. For me only.
Externally.
And that's why I feel like that.
For me only.
Yeah, because that, Hari, I got to say this, that kind of thought process was in my head in my 20s. It was very limiting because I used to think, oh, poor me, why does this happen to me?
Yeah.
And it was like partly because at home, there was a conditioning going on in my home because we were programmed to think that there is this kind of dark cloud somewhere that's always looking at us and thinking, oh, Rajiv should have a bad day and this and that. I'm thinking, after a while, you sit down and think, like, wait, everybody has the same set of circumstances, and we all have challenges in our lives, and we all are subjected to the same trials and tribulations of life. But some choose to contend with life a certain way, and they seem happy and they seem fulfilled. And some choose to, like you said, go back to that unconscious state and keep repeating those mistakes over and over again. So it's a question of, my mother-in-law, I was telling you, a bluegrass musician. I asked her the question. She's usually a very lighthearted person. I was asking her, hey, how do you stay so lighthearted? She will break into a song, and the entire emotion of the room will drop. Like if somebody is tense, her voice has got such a therapeutic,
magnetic.
Yes, it's got a certain magnetic like property to it. You just kind of like stop back and you look at it, and it's very soothing on some levels.
She creates an aura.
She creates this kind of bubble of like, hey, we're all in this together. And it's very, like, I think about it, it's very emotional for me. Music she has that talent of that therapeutic music when people. And I asked her the question, like, how come you're so lighthearted? How do you? And she just gave me a very simple answer, which is not profound. It seems very trivial, but she's like, like, it's a choice we make. It's like, I don't want to be upset all the time. I just want to be happy, and I can make a joke about something and laugh about it. Let me just do that. And on the other hand, I meet people who are convinced that misery is part of life. My mom will watch these soap operas, Hari. I can't tell you, there's so much drama in there. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And they're brainwashing into thinking life is this hard thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like let's wake up. Life doesn't have to be this hard. It can be simple.
Yeah, it can be very simple.
We all love, I think most of us have love in our hearts.
Yeah.
Right? Anyway, that's what I think.
Now, if we are like this, why can't we be throughout like this? We can.
Right.
But people want to create misery.
There's money there. There's money there.
Yeah.
Right. So how did you? So if to close out the last thing we're talking about, you said the thing that broke your depression was you understood kind of the thing that got you into it. You learned your lesson, and then you came on the other side, and you stopped making that mistake in your life, and then you were just happy afterwards. It was just a mental tweak, in a sense. You had to shift your perspective and say, all right, this was something I should not do in the future, and then that's it.
Yes.
Life became kind of joyous and happy again.
Yes.
Would you say you're generally a very joyous person in your life?
Yeah, I was.
Okay.
And then what happened when I came, the spiritual master, whomever, I'm referring to. Now I knew that every time I was having some kind of troubled feeling, of loneliness or whatever it is, I used to just listen to him. And at that point of time, I found that any point of time that I had a problem, the topic what I was listening was something related to that, and it was as if he was offering me a solution to that problem. Which means to say, he knew me. We haven't met each other. So he knew me, but I don't know a thing about him. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like that.
There's a lot to say. I agree.
So which means to say that all my lifetime, I knew everything about botany or history, geography, this and all that. But whereas that person must have throughout the lifetime since his childhood, must have refused to learn anything about biology, physics, but he was with nature, and he must have been totally observing the ways of how the creation is, and he must have understood universally how it functions and what is the purpose of existence, much more. That's the reason he is able to look at me, but I am unable to look even a small piece of him.
Yeah, it
Because
definitely.
what happens, we limit ourselves with the book knowledge and what we outsource from here and there. But there is something which is beyond all this book knowledge, which cannot be, which has to be understood from the other dimension point of view.
Yeah.
Which we don't realize, and as we go on, we realize that. And in science, what happens? They know that, but eventually, what happens? The highest in the evolution, as a parallel evolution, the artificial intelligence and other things are coming up. But what is happening to humanity? Because of the humanity is losing that very purpose of existence, and they are becoming morbid. That's how I told you that they're already becoming robots. They go on the motorbikes full speed and then sit there in a place and start doing that mechanical thing.
Yeah.
The receptionist goes there, puts on that and sits there, and then she starts answering calls same way. Good morning, sir. See, this is what the robot is going to do, and you are already doing it.
Right.
So why do you need a advanced? What do you call as? What do you call that as artificial
AI.
intelligence?
Yeah.
You yourself is an
Yeah.
artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Though you have a God-given intelligence, you are converting it into artificial intelligence.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of
And
social
God-given
programming.
intelligence is something which you can take it to a dimension
Oh,
where it will
yeah.
not work against you at all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. There is an inherent intelligence.
Intelligence, yes,
Yes.
which will never work against you.
Right. Right. Yeah. So I was just going to say.
But we people are making it work against us.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of social programming that happens, right, Hari? There's like this is something I've been contemplating for a long time. How much society, like your relatives, your friends, your schooling, your professional circles, and things like that, how much you take in and just becomes your part of your subconscious, and that dictates your life script. You could reprogram that if you wanted to gain more out of life. I talk to my buddies every now and then. Like I'll have these kind of debates and stuff, and I'll say, "Man, how the hell do you? I have friends who cut across the city in traffic and all of that stuff. Like, how the hell do you guys have like some peace of mind? Like you're spending 2 hours in the morning driving, getting to your place, 8 hours, 10 hours working, another 2 hours. How do you sit down and just like deflate, decompress, and just have this moment of like clarity, some moments to yourself, like you've got a family and all of that, and they're like, it's okay, I can live that life. You just get used to it. And I'm like, I don't think I can get used to that. I need those moments of just like reflection and stuff, because otherwise you get into that unconscious cycle of mind. And that's the revealing part to me, is that there are many amongst us who are okay with that.
Right.
They don't see that as a they don't see this kind of mechanical, predictable aspect of life as limiting. It's like, hey, this is the way life is. Let's live it this way. 9 to 5 and Monday to Friday, and Christmas comes around, Diwali comes around, blah blah blah. And I'm like, you could life is like a VR headset. You could wear a VR headset and you could have any experience you want in your life. You could say, I want to go to Venkateshwara sweet stall. I'll have that sweet now, and then I'll go watch that movie, and then I'll go do something else, and I'll do something else. I'll meet this friend, I'll laugh a little bit and come back home. I'll take a nap, rinse, repeat, and I'll do a job that supports exactly this, and I'll be happy. Like, we're also very worried about social judgment, right? Like, there's one thing that people tell me often. I got to share this with you, Hari. Whenever I talk about, this podcasting and stuff like that, people say, well, you're kind of different. That's why you do all this stuff. You don't, which is euphemism for you don't care about what people say. That's why you kind of like, we have to live by society's norms. You're just weird, they tell me. And I'm thinking, what society's norms? Like, were these laid out when you were born? Nobody laid it out. Like, I don't know if you have any thoughts about this. Like, you lived a very going against the grain life, right? Like, you became an abstract painter against your parents' wishes. maybe society's wishes and stuff, and people wanted you to be a certain way, but you went against the grain and you did it. You became successful. Can you talk about, I don't know, did you had inner demons, and I know we talked about it. You said the one thing that stuck out in my mind when I watched the podcast was that you said, you know, in your heart when you're good at something, you can do it. But there are many amongst us who know they're good in their hearts, they know they're good at something, but they don't want to do it because they're fear of, social ostracization and things like that. How do you overcome that?
No, that is because you're always concerned about what the other person is thinking about you and all that.
Right.
It's their business, it's their problem. If somebody is thinking something about me, it's their problem. It's not what is it's something which is, it's not their problem, it's my problem, because it's going on inside me.
My mind.
My
that
mind.
that person thinks less
Yeah,
of me.
it's my, so it's not
You think less of yourself.
Yeah,
That's why
yeah,
you have
yeah.
a problem with it.
That's the thing.
Right.
So what happens? Another thing is, whatever other people are talking about, what they could not achieve, they're trying to fix it on you. So they want to bring you to that framework which they think that that's the best way to do. So why should we at all try to fix somebody else's problems? We have a lot of problems to fix ourselves, isn't it? So each one has to fix their problems.
Yeah. It takes courage, though. It takes courage and conviction.
It takes courage.
Yeah.
And then even in childhood days, what they do is you study, you become a doctor, you become an engineer, because what they could not achieve in their lives, they try to make the children do it.
It's also a lot of herd mentality.
Yeah. See, they don't let the children do what they like.
Yeah.
Let them do what they like, and you support them in that. That's enough.
Conformity in India is huge. Conforming to social norms is huge. And that's why one of the things I keep bringing back with you, especially Hari, is that very early on in your life, you took a very atypical path compared to probably all the people in the 60s and 70s. I mean, I'm guessing 70s, which must have taken a lot of courage. Like,
it does.
And people saying things to your face and things like that.
Yes.
And you, in your mind, have to reconcile that and say, all right, that person is saying that, but I know in my heart, I'm good at this. This gives me happiness, and I should do that. Yeah, I don't know. That's just...
Yeah, now I've come to a point where whatever I wanted to achieve in my work, and the highest, the creator who is sitting in me, who's demanding, do more, and I reach that point. The creator, I am hell bent to achieve that reality.
Is it all ongoing all the time?
It's all going, and I have come to that state where I achieved that.
Achieved what?
Achieved that highest point of creativity.
How do you know it's the highest point? How do you know there's not more in the future?
I know that because if you look at my recent paintings, you'll know that. If you have a conversation with...
But how do you know you're not going to make something even better in the future?
No, I think that is it. Because
really?
Yeah. It's like this. Supposing, like, I'm again telling you the point of Rothko.
Yeah.
Now, Rothko, I'm sure beyond that he would not have gone. Even if he had lived for another...
He peaked there, you're saying?
Yeah, even if he had lived for another 10 years or 20 years, he would be repeating it. Because that's the ultimate. That's why that the art historians know it is the ultimate. It's not ultimate only for Rothko. It's the ultimate for any genius. It's the ultimate the world can achieve.
How do you know where your boundaries are if you don't keep trying, though?
No, even if you try, you will realize where you reach the point. You will realize the point which you wanted to reach, you have reached. And the people can clearly notice it.
It's hard for me to debate this.
For instance, I put my painting here and they asked me, what is the meaning of this? I said, abstraction is total consciousness. Total consciousness about nothingness. The nothingness itself is consciousness. So, what happened? All the other things which we are living is all subconscious. We are in the dream state and we enjoy that state. So what I've done in my painting, I swept that all to the side. I've taken out all the subconscious and unconscious things to the side.
Like what? Can you
In
unpack
my
that?
painting, you can see.
What do you mean
I
by?
explained.
Can you explain to
If
me?
you see my painting,
Okay.
you would like to see the
Like
painting?
yes, absolutely. I'm looking
Yeah.
at that painting that you have on the floor.
Yeah,
It looks like a watermelon to me.
yeah.
And can you describe to me?
No, it's a sphere.
It's a sphere.
It's a spherical. See, it's an endless space,
Uh-huh.
and I'm just showing that the infinite space. It's a stellar memory. It's a
But infinite space has a finite
Yeah.
boundary of a circle.
yeah of a circle. So I cannot. If I want to do a 10 feet by 10 feet, I could do that. So supposing if I have a canvas which is 10,000 feet by 10,000 feet, I can fill that circle. So it's like the infinite. It's a minuscule representation of the infinite.
Okay. But I guess my question also is that how are you stripping away the subconscious stuff?
I'll show you this painting.
Okay. Okay. Let's give me a second. Let me
Yeah. Or you want me
bring
to
my
get it
camera here.
We'll make some tea also after some time.
Sure.
So we can have, I too will have a cup of tea.
Sure.
Yeah. Now I'll show you this work.
Yeah, let me.
So at least we say, the spiritual guru says that, this body, at last we are at least want to throw this body, we become the topsoil, so that, some plant grows and there's a flower coming up. So the state of consciousness is nothing but you consciously realize that everything is yours. So if everything already is yours, why is it necessary for you to say? For instance, this kind. If I say this is my house, you will say, I can't say this is me. This is not me. If I stand outside, you say this is Hariraam, can you say this? But I am here. My body is here. See, it's a very complicated thing. So eventually what happens, we belong to the vaster creation. We belong to the boundless. So we are everywhere. Eternal. We make it eternal. But we are making it, we are thinking that there's fear of death because of the body, we are in the confines and all that. So the moment you think you are and identify yourself with this body, you are limited to that. The moment you leave this body and say, I am everything, you expand into the universe. So all the thought which is subconscious thought, I have set it aside and I put the pure consciousness in here. So it could be in any color. In the night it could be dark. I'll do another painting.
Sure. Yeah, that looks great. The light's great. Light's great. Yeah.
See, now you can see this. All these things, they're all subconscious. It's like surrealism. It's a dream. So all that is, whatever our existence itself is a dream. All that we experience ourselves, everything is a dream. But eventually, the emptiness is what we belong to. We belong to the entirety of that, which is the vaster experience. So we are into that. So here you can see that I just varied the color into a gray. So, but then all the sides, you see the subconscious and the unconscious components.
Yeah, I have so many questions to ask you. This is great. Thank you for sharing that.
So in that blue space, if you start filling up all the forms and all that, you are putting all the confines there. Again, you are bringing all the boundaries.
Yeah, and do you mind if I try to personalize this in a sense? Because I'm wondering.
So it has something related to our personal life.
Yeah.
So when you bring that painting, meaning of the painting and your personal life, then the painting becomes authentic. That's why I am known as an authentic abstract painter. Now what happens if my uncle, when I was young, he used to tell, what my uncle used to come, brother-in-law used to come. He used to come and tell my mom. He used to come and tell me. I'm sorry. He used to come and tell me. What is this you are doing? Some abstract and all that. Even I can do that. Then I went and told my mom that
Yeah.
I got very upset.
What
is this
age
guy?
were you at this point?
I must have been 30 or something like that.
Okay.
So
you were
he
already
said,
doing
why
these
are you
paintings?
wasting your time?
Gotcha.
Why are you painting this? What is abstract? There's nothing.
It's
You
not
are
a big
wasting
deal.
time. No one is
Yeah.
buying that, this and all that, because
Yeah.
he didn't know anything.
Right.
And he was my brother-in-law. So what I used to do is to give vent to my feelings. I used to go to my mother and say, what is this guy coming? Why is he disturbing me?
Uh-huh.
When I'm painting, he's coming and saying, what is this? Why you are wasting time and all that? I feel like giving him a slap. He's my sister's husband. Otherwise, I would have given him a slap.
Yeah.
My mother told me, why are you getting worked up like this? This is very wrong. Don't get upset. Let him say whatever he wants. You tell him this is, if you want to paint, give him a bucket of paint and ask him
Yeah.
to throw and create his work.
Yeah.
You understand? So what happens is, if you can throw a bucket of water and you can do any hodgepodge, but that become an abstraction. Optically, it may look good, but can you talk about what I have spoken
Yeah.
about?
Does
it?
abstract art then have to have some symbolism in it, like you showed me? This is a kind of a symbolism
Yeah,
of.
it's a kind of symbolic.
It has to be symbolism.
It not necessarily. It will eventually come.
Okay.
See, once you are evolving,
Uh-huh.
if you take it as a journey,
Uh-huh.
the painting also evolves to your kind of nature.
Can it be
So how much of-
meaningless? Can it just be for the sake of it? For the sake of the aesthetics, let's say.
It can be.
It can be.
It can be also.
Okay.
But authenticity comes when you are able to make it more profound
Okay.
by an explanation or backed by a theory which has got some relationship with the human nature itself, which can help human nature to evolve to higher levels of thought.
So
You
there's
understand?
a purpose to it. There's a purpose.
There's a purpose. So supposing if Rothko felt the same way, he would think that all his rubbish he has to set aside and go ahead. But what happened? He could not. He kept his all this rubbish on the side, but the spaces in between were showing that it was hurting him here. You can see that it was hurting him here, and though in his personal life he could not take certain emotions, and he committed suicide. So what happens is you have to completely sweep it out. Consciously you have to take out everything. You have to constantly practice that and take out everything, all turmoil, everything. Whatever happened in the past, you should not dig it. And you should think it's all bygone.
Yeah.
It's a past which has been an experience from where you came. It's not to be taken into account at all. You should never dig into the past. So you leave that. The moment you attach that importance, even what happens yesterday, supposing somebody, I am in love with a girl and she breaks and goes away, heartbroken or something. It is for me to understand that it is good. What has not happened? If you had happened, what will happen to you? Tell me. Now, whatever has happened to you is happened. You are nice, isn't it? You
Right.
are happy, isn't it?
Right.
That is important.
Right.
So we should not. We should get into that boundless state of being an individual who is all absorbing,
All absorbing, all encompassing.
all encompassing.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to do that because it's like,
it's definitely. And unless and
because society like programs you a certain way, like you have to be acquisitive,
yes,
acquire wealth or money or whatever status and things
Yeah.
like that. And what you're saying is that, look, you don't have to do that. You don't have to pursue
Yes.
all those things. You do what
yes.
makes sense to you.
My guru, the
Yeah.
person whom I follow,
Yeah.
he says, one day what happened? This man who has accumulated so much wealth, he becomes like this one day. He is dead and gone.
Right.
You go to him and say, I've got $1 million
Right.
for you. I just got it. Can I give it to you? I've got 1 ton of gold. 1 container I have brought for you. Will you please take it?
Yeah. I was talking to
So what's the point? Where is he
Right.
gone? Why doesn't take it with
The-
him to
our-
heaven or wherever he wants to go?
Absolutely. That's one thing. I was talking to Sethuraman. He's a novelist and a playwright, and he does a lot of dramas. You can see him on TV a lot in Bangalore. We started talking because I wanted to host him on the podcast, and I don't know how we got into this topic, and he's like, he made a statement like, money is utility, is utility. We have to look at it as a utility.
That's it. That's it.
You don't look at it as the end goal.
No.
Right? And I was like, yeah, that's a great way of putting it. You use it for certain means, then that's it.
That's all.
Yeah.
See, you drink the water, you can't drink the glass.
Yeah. You can't keep accumulating like a tank of water.
You drink a tea, but you have to eventually throw the cup.
Right, or pee it out. Yeah.
But the cup is useful. You have to use that.
That's definitely a social...
You can't take your tea like this.
Right. It's useful for certain...
That's it.
Limited amount of time.
That's it.
Application.
See, we give too much of importance and we attach ourselves and say, this is mine. I want to grab it. This is mine. This is... So they don't understand what really is you, what is yours, and what is not yours.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I think it was an interesting conversation.
Yes, it was, and it still is. Do you sit down and like, Hari, do you sit down and like, you're alone in this apartment. Do you ever sit down and just reflect upon things like, reflect about your life, your experiences, certain incidents, or maybe reflect upon... Do you give it a lot of time to introspect and reflect?
That is called seeking.
Called what?
That is called seeking. Now you asked me that question.
Yeah.
That's seeking. The questioning itself is seeking.
Yeah. Do you do that?
Yes.
How do you do that?
It's once you are you get into the process of evolution. You set aside all the bullshit what you are. And then you start questioning the nature of your existence. Then you start thinking of all that.
Do you have any examples of how you've thought about things and things have changed? Like the reason I'm asking is that I want to get at how folks at your level in your life, in a career.
For instance, when I was very young, I was going to a school very near the seashore, St. Michael's Anglo-Indian Boys School was my school. No, this was in Kannur.
Okay.
In Kerala.
Okay.
So
did you grow up in Kerala too?
Yeah, yes.
How many years did you grow up?
That must have been, I'm about 5 years old. I was there for 10 years.
Oh, really?
Beginning of my life.
Oh, how come?
48 to 58 years.
How come? Like, how come you were in Kerala? Like your dad?
My father was there, so I was
That must have had a big impact on you.
I was born there, yes.
Yeah, so, Kerala is a different kind of culture,
so what happened is cliff was there. There's a cliff. It is a beautiful place. It's called Payambalam Beach.
Okay.
And it's a beach. And then it had a cliff. And my school used to be very close proximity to the beach. And this was St. Michael's. So after the school bell was done, I used to go down the cliff and then sit there. Since I had the artistic talent, from young I used to draw. So I used to sit there and I never used to go home till 7:30. My mother never used to know where I am because she was so busy in the kitchen and other children. She knew that somewhere I must have gone and I'll come back home, she used to know. I used to sit there and watch the sea waves and then the fish crawling. I used to think, where did all this stuff come? How come this came? Where was the beginning? Somewhere the beginning has to be there. How did the sun come all of a sudden into the sky? See, this kind of questioning started in my mind. I used to see these rocks. How did these rocks develop? Okay, it must have come from the sun. The sun must have blasted and then there's a piece came. It cooled down and the lava became the rock. And then eventually after cooling, the water fell and all that. Then how did the life started come? From total silence, how did the life evolve? So that all that questioning mind which I had young itself indicated that I was destined to be born. My soul was itself born to question every part of the existence. And since I'm an artist, I questioned that also. Why I am fine, but Mark Rothko though he sold, I want to sell my paintings, I want to bring my paintings to that standard. But having brought to that standard, will I kill myself like Mark Rothko? Why did he kill himself? He sold, he achieved everything. He didn't kill himself because he didn't achieve anything in painting. He achieved the topmost. People knew it was his ultimate in abstraction. People knew that. And he was selling in auction houses and he was being commissioned. He didn't even leave there to take back his commissioned work, which he did in Dallas. It was called that place was called Mark Rothko's Chapel. In,
yeah. We spoke about it last
in
time.
Austin or something. It's there.
In Houston, yeah.
Houston.
Yeah.
So the person who commissioned him, he did the work, and he before he could make the payment, Mark Rothko killed himself. So why did Rothko kill himself, having done that masterpiece? A chapel itself was created where people could sit and just weep at his painting. He could bring tears of joy or ecstasy into the minds of the people by just making them see his painting, and he kills himself here. He was not even taking the payment. Was it for money? If the money problem was there, he got the money. He got his name, he got his fame, everything. He got everything. But why did he kill himself? I thought, will I also end up? Why am I desiring to become the best artist then? Is it that I will go to that level and I kill myself? So what made him kill? So all this intellectual explanation about tradition contradicting the modernity and all that bullshit, I didn't want. This is all dissection. You just cut a frog and see what is inside. My guru said like that, it's all dissection. No, I don't believe this. There's something deeper than that. It must have affected him. So when I went into that, I felt that the people get affected by their unconscious acts, and that is overpowering when they, in the end of their lives, that they can't bear it. They can't even think that they have to take another life and then get punished the same way they did to somebody else. Like I went and asked one of my friend, why did Rothko, he was a clairvoyant. I said, why you are a clairvoyant, can you tell me? He's a very good clairvoyant. I asked him, can you tell me why Rothko died? He said, who is Rothko? And I explained him, and he died like this. He then put his hand like this, show me his painting, he said. I showed his painting, he put his hand. He did something, closed his eyes, and he rolled his eyes and all that. And he said, he was in his previous birth. I can see him, he was on a horse. And there was a czar, he was a czar, he was going on a horse. Is he from Russia? He asked. He's from Russia.
Yeah.
So he migrated to US. So he said, this guy, clairvoyant, didn't say he was a czar. So he said he was riding a horse, and he seems to be some lord or something like that. Then some farmer or somebody, I see him kneeling down. He simply chopped his head from there. He was sitting on a horse and he chopped his head like this and took his land. So that came to him in the last scene, he said, which he could not bear. So he killed himself, he said.
Yeah.
So you see that that unconscious act somewhere has come, but he must have got a chance to wriggle out of that also, but he didn't know how to handle it, or something must have happened there. It's way beyond understanding. So even such people who are genius, who come to that height, somewhere God gives them a chance to even repent and come out of that. But eventually what happens, it's a way of repentance or something like that, maybe. So what happens, these kind of thoughts recur to me when I'm painting. That's answering your point.
Yeah.
So apart from painting, I just don't sit and paint as if I am interested in color. I like color. I like, even if you take red, if you take blue, there's Persian blue, there's turquoise blue, there's cobalt blue, there's phthalo blue. So many varieties are there. I'm interested in color. But apart from that, I think, what is the significance of why should I be painting? Why am I born as a painter when my 6 brothers are all in different professions? Why am I sitting here and painting from the childhood? I'm also born to the same parents, but I sit at 5 years I sit and paint, but
Mhm.
none of my brothers are interested, and I
Mm.
paint a lifelong. Why am I doing this? And the artist who is doing that, he committed suicide. What will happen to me? Why this happened? So this questioning and all these things, experiences in life, which I look back, what is the mistake I've done? Why I should do this? Why I should not have done that? Then I see what the spiritual masters say, and they tell you this you have done, this you should not be done that. So you learn your lessons. This is how the evolution takes place. So you evolve into a higher plane and go into another plane of existence, which we don't it is not in our experience at all. So there is an intelligence much beyond, way
Mhm.
beyond our knowledge. Like our guru says, so today we are hungry, we brought food and we ate it.
Yeah.
Supposing had we not eaten, we could not even stand up.
Yeah.
So that food became us, he says.
Yes.
So we are just, this body is accumulated food. We have brought this growth onto us, and the mind brain is absorbing all this from the books, textbooks, what he says, who says. But there is another dimension of intelligence which is working within you, which is digesting your food, separating the nutrients, taking the chemistry, whole chemistry lab is going on
Yeah.
inside. Something is, some intelligence thing is running. When such an intelligence is running, we keep on questioning, and that is seeking. That is, everybody does that.
I don't know if everybody does that, but
I
you
We don't
certainly
know.
do it.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
everybody
yeah.
should do that.
Yeah, yeah. So when you're painting any particular, I'm looking at some pictures here. There's a scale and there's a watermelon on the left,
Hmm.
and there's something on the right. So when you're working on this art, you're contemplating several things as
Yes,
you're painting.
like for instance, in this painting, when I used to see the watermelon. The watermelon was there, and I was looking at, what if it is a balloon?
Hmm.
It looks like a balloon. It looks like a watermelon also. So if I look at it as a balloon, it's only air. But if I look at it as a watermelon, it has pulp inside.
Hmm.
The pulp makes it heavy.
Hmm.
So supposing I remove the pulp, it will go up like a balloon. The same is our spirit. The body can be lifted up. So the spirit is there. That goes up. The air is the spirit. So that goes up. So I've shown it as quantum and gross. So the same thing, the balloon which they put on one pan of the balance,
Scale. Yeah.
it goes down, but the smaller piece of a melon is lifting up. So the balloon weight is hollow, but it gives you a deceit. Deceitful look that it's not a balloon, it's a watermelon. It's one side, it looks like a watermelon, but also looks like a balloon. To me, it looks both. So if it is an empty balloon, it can go up the air. If it's a heavy watermelon, it gravitates towards the earth.
Hmm. But I'm confused. In that picture, the balloon watermelon
Hmm.
is outweighing the piece on the side, on the right side.
Ah.
So the balloon is not empty; it's heavier than the other
But it
piece
looks bigger than the piece of watermelon.
because it's also big. That's why it's weighing down the
Yeah,
scale.
yeah.
Okay, that was the
Yes,
intention of that
yes.
painting. Okay,
Yes.
but maybe I need to clarify. I need to
Yeah,
show that picture of it. I'll probably take some pictures if you don't
yeah,
mind,
sure, sure,
because
sure.
I'll splice that in what we're
Yes,
talking about. I just don't
sure,
want to talk about it.
sure, sure.
Yeah, so art, like what I talk to my friends in Peoria, for example. I know a
Hmm.
few people who say when they're doing they join art classes where they do drink wine while they're doing art and
Hmm.
stuff, and they say, it's very therapeutic. It helps me kind of
Hmm.
think about things. Would you recommend that more people do art? Like, is it? I do like doodling on my phone. Like, I've got a
Hmm.
stylus on my phone, and I love it. I make, it's called Concepts,
Hmm.
and I was showing you the other day, and it's got all these kind of textures. It's
Hmm.
got backgrounds with isometric backgrounds and 2 points and grids and things like that, and it's got all these um, various brushes that you could use. It's got diffuse brush and this and that, and I've been doing it for about 3-4 years now, off and on, and there's something I can't explain. There's definitely an aspect of fun when I'm doing it because it feels like I'm just scribbling. But then after a point, it looks like there's some form to it. and I like the form. It's visually appealing to me. I'm not painting the authentics like what you're talking about. I'm not putting any thought to it. The thought sort of sometimes comes later on, but I guess my question to you is that should more of us pursue art, not abstract art per se, but just more of us try to pursue art because it helps us stay grounded and connected with ourselves? Is that a good thing to do? Do you recommend that?
No, what happens, it is better not to make anybody do anything.
Yeah.
It's better, art is also, you do that because there is an inherent quality in you that makes you do it.
Hmm.
So if
Any art, I'm not limiting it
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
painting and
No,
stuff.
anything, but you can develop that. You can develop that, but not necessarily that you can force yourself about that. But
Yeah.
if you enjoy that, you can do that.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm asking
Yeah,
also when people go through stress and stuff like that.
yeah,
Would
it's very good for them.
Yeah.
It's very good. They can. But the thing is, what happens is nothing of it will be solved externally. The best way is to, even if they just sit quiet in a place,
Yeah.
in a meditative way, it will help them. It will
Okay.
open up.
Okay.
That's how the saints knew that sitting quiet helped them. How they started meditation,
How?
when a troubled person, he
Uh-huh.
didn't know anything, he used to just keep quiet, not eat anything,
Yeah.
not do anything, just keep quiet. Then the universe automatically opens up. You start thinking and then you open up and then you get up as a different person. You just try that. You just don't do anything. You go home
Yeah.
when no one is there, when Emily isn't there,
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
You just sit there
Yeah.
quietly with a
Yeah.
cup of coffee, or you just sit like that. Half an hour, 40 minutes, you sit like that.
Yeah.
After that, eventually your body will tell you to get up. But until then, you say,
Yeah.
you will see that you will be much more, something will strike your
Yeah.
mind as very vibrant. You will be a renewed person each time you do that.
I'm so excited to tell you
So what
about.
happens?
Yeah.
Every person the sages started doing that. Oh,
Yeah.
if I sit quiet like this, I enjoy this state more.
Yeah.
So what they did was they made it as a
As a
meditative thing,
practice.
and they found out this heel.
Uh-huh.
See, supposing if the heel isn't there, no human being can live. This heel,
Uh-huh.
if it breaks, you can't stand.
Yeah.
You will become like this. You will fall.
Right.
So this heel. That's why the Achilles,
Uh-huh.
he was killed by this.
The Achilles. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, and also Krishna and all that.
Yeah.
So this is the heel which
Yeah.
should touch the Mooladhara.
Uh-huh.
That's why these people put this in Mooladhara and
Yeah.
then put this. So if it keeps this here, the Mooladhara gets activated.
Mm.
That's why they sit in this posture. When they sit in this posture, the rays from top is received through the hand and it transforms you.
Mm.
So what happens? You open up to your spiritual dimensions. You open it up, and your reptilian brain activity reduces. Means your cravings and all that is in the reptilian. It's
Mm.
called reptilian brain. That reduces. So once you do that, you get energized.
You're saying this posture gives you that kind
This
of
posture,
state.
yes.
Wow.
And then slowly you get energized.
Yeah. So
You can try that in Ramakrishna Ashram. It happens.
well,
If you
I was going to
just-
say when you were saying earlier, sit down for some time.
You just sit in Ramakrishna Ashram.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
After that, you get up. You feel like running.
Right.
You
Right.
feel like running. You light. Your body becomes so light. But
Yeah.
again, it becomes heavy because we are not constantly doing it.
Right.
Temporarily, that energy will be.
Yeah, Emily. In our house, the house
So
that
the
I
spirituality is definitely a different dimension,
yeah,
which is infinite.
I agree with you 100%. Like you were talking about earlier, sit down and just kind of slow down. That's something I've been doing in the last 4 or 5 years, a lot more than I used to in the past. I mean, I meditate and things like that, but we have these large windows in my living room, and and one of the other, we've got two living rooms, and both have huge windows that look out to nature, a ton of nature here in Peoria. And I'll sit there and I'll just stare for half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, something like that. Me and my cat will be by me and stuff like that. And my wife will always make fun of me, like, what is it that you're looking out the window? There's just trees and there's lawn and there's birds and squirrels and then there's clouds or whatever. There's sunlight, and I find it hard to defend myself. Like, I can't explain to you. There's something about just sitting here and taking in all of that is very fulfilling. Like, I feel like it's filling up some kind of like need of mine, and it fills me to the point where I feel healed at some level. There's something very therapeutic and regenerative about that, right? Like you're the greenery of the grass, the sunlight, and all of that is just like
It's because
you're not doing anything actively. You're just sitting there and just taking it in. Yeah.
You see, for instance, I'll tell you this: these people who go and give performances on the stage,
Yeah.
and you see how they're TED talking, and then also the singers, they go and sing on the stage.
Yeah.
How many million people are applauding?
Yeah.
How many of them are loving them, clapping, and then they are admiring, shouting? Millions of people.
Yes.
When millions of people you are able to make them
Perform. Yeah.
perform, they're just waiting. If you tell one of the millions of those people who wants to spend a night with me, I'm sure there'll be 1 million girls to spend the night with him.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
There'll be.
Yeah.
So that is the power of his that self.
Right.
But you just make him sit there for half an hour, let me say. You put him in a room.
It depends on the person. If he's not too narcissistic, if the person is not too narcissistic,
It is difficult.
yeah.
Because he will feel loneliness.
Mm.
He will feel lonely. Why do you feel lonely? Because you are in your own bad company.
Your own thoughts,
The bad company. You are in
which
bad
is yourself.
All the while, people who thought you are the best company, you are yourself bad company to yourself.
Yeah, I was reading a quote.
You see how deep it is.
No, it's very deep. I was
very
reading a
deep.
quote today.
It is so deep. Isn't it abstract? In a sense, it's kind
Yeah.
of. See, I'll tell you, in India, abstract painting, there's a temple called Aprameya Swamy.
Okay.
This is 3 kilometers from Channapatna. So I asked these people in the crowd, they were all in an interactive session with me. I asked them, have they seen Aprameya Swamy temple? They said yes. Two people put up the hand and said yes. Then I said, what is it about? He said, it's a Krishna temple. No, it's a Krishna temple, but what does it manifest? What does it personify? They couldn't answer. See, Aprameya is the immeasurable. That means the entire universe is immeasurable, isn't it? That whole thing has been put into that statue. It's been Agamas and Vedas has been chanted and consecrated. It has been consecrated in a temple. Now the entire universe, this acts as an antenna. Like your telephone, if you put, it opens up, no? Like that, a human being can stand in front of it and he can get the grace of the universe. So that's why it is a sunya. In the sense it has a physicality, but it's formless. How does it be formless? How can you prove it is formless? You go to the temple and then the arti is doing like ting 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 ting. Immediately what you do is you close your eyes.
Yeah.
You came to see God. Why do you close your eyes? Because you can't.
It's respect.
No, it's not respect.
Yeah.
You close because you have to use your mind's eye to see it beyond. That is abstract.
Yeah, a lot of these, what you're describing, Hari, is like, it's worth mentioning, at least from my perspective, is that I've been following this neuroscientist Sam Harris for a long time, for about 8 or 9 years now. He's got an app called Waking Up, which I use for meditation, and he's also deeply philosophical. He's written books about, several books about the moral landscape and spirituality and religions and things. And one of the key lessons I feel like I've learned from him is that freedom, psychological freedom, for example, is available to us at this very instant of time, wherever you're sitting. You can observe what you're doing, come back into that conscious state from being unconscious, and you can notice that you're breathing in air, your feet are on the ground, you're experiencing the pressure back from your nervous system and things like that. But when you're observing the state of your consciousness, all your thoughts cease to be, because you're observing it. If you have any feelings of anxiety, for example, you have these kind of like fleeting thoughts and all of these things are coming, all you have to do is just observe that thought that comes into the theater of your mind, and notice the half-life of that just vanish immediately. That thought, when I started using that in my life, became like this mantra that helped me over and over again. Like I could sit in a train station and I could be in bliss, in a state of bliss. I think we need a cup of tea. I'm going on and on about it.
I've been yarning quite a few times. It's coming.
That's okay. It's authentic, right? Authentic abstract painter. It's a form of expressing your thoughts, your beliefs, your ideas, and also marveling at the creation of this amazing universe that we sit in, we inhabit this planet, and we're marveling at it. We're looking at all of these things. We're marveling at it, and some abstraction of it is put on paper, and it still looks beautiful at the end of it.
So that's why I told Mahendra, all these people, sir, see now, it's not about Picasso. When Picasso's painting is shown to you, you accept him as a cubist, internationally known. I mean, he's a genius and all that. Do you see what award he's gone, where he studied and all that? You don't even know where he was born.
Right.
You don't look into his biodata. It's what you do is important. You simply say Hariraam is this, that, he's got national award, and I become like a balloon, I become puss.
Right.
There's nothing, no use.
I 100% agree with you. I got to tell you, I heard this.
So what you do in your profession, you should know what you are doing.
And the thing that you do should speak for itself.
If Rajiv is sitting in front of me and asking bloody why you are doing abstraction, I should explain that. If I'm just like a balloon, I do some abstract and say I'm a great abstract painter. What? What is that?
I've met innumerous people in my life that have no credentials to their name, but they're one of the most talented people I've met in my life. Like my wife's uncle, he's a carpenter. He's a house builder. So he knows how to do everything from building a frame, a structure, putting drywall, building a gazebo, flooring, anything, plumbing, electrical. He can do the whole thing. He's very hands-on kind of guy. He's not finished college or anything like that. And he's the most unassuming guy. He just smokes a lot of weed, during the day. But he's a hard worker. He loves what he does, and the work he does looks amazing. Like he's put a roof on our house, a new metal roof on our house, and then he built a new bathroom in our house. And you look at it like, this guy is talented as hell, and he has no airs about himself. He's like, I just love what I do, man. This is easy for me to do, and I enjoy doing this stuff. He actually wants to come to India and teach a bunch of kids how to build houses and things like that. Like share American techniques to India. He wants to do that. So anyway, I thought I'll throw that in,
Yeah. So mainly abstract painting. This you must record. See, in abstract painting, I look at it this way. There are 4 stages in abstract painting. The one is an amateur who doesn't know anything, who is attempting to paint abstract and calling it an abstract painting. This fellow is like a car driver. The second is a person who is above an amateur, who can paint. He is like a mechanic, a professional who is earning money out of his abstract painting, who doesn't know much more than that, who is not beyond that. He is like an engineer who designs the car and then who kind of makes the engines and all that. The person who is above the professional, who understands everything, every aspect of abstract painting and does abstract painting, is the genius who invented the engine. So it's
So a person who creates new,
yes, who creates, who invents that.
invents new paradigms in
Who is,
painting.
yeah, if he invents, supposing if he has invented BMW,
Yeah,
he is a genius.
yeah,
The person who makes that is the second fellow.
yeah,
The person who is able to repair that
yeah.
is the fourth. Who is just driving that doesn't know anything about it. No? He is just the fourth.
Right, right.
It's in abstract painting, it is like that.
Yeah, yeah. I think it applies to most professions, you know. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Well, Hariram, this has been fascinating. Maybe I'll shoot some, take
Yes.
some pictures of your
Yeah.
abstract
Yeah.
art, which is fascinating. If
Yes.
you don't mind,
Not at all.
I will splice that in.